Every generation, my grandmother picks one grandson to raise properly. I was that boy once. At Christmas dinner, she announced it was my son's turn. I was carving the ham when my grandmother stood up at the head of the table, tapped her glass with a spoon, and told the whole family that my 6-year-old son, Rennick, would be moving into her house in January to be raised properly, the way I had been. The room went silent at the same instant. My uncle set his fork down. My mother suddenly needed something from the kitchen. My father stared into his wine glass like there was an answer at the bottom. My wife looked at me, confused, waiting for me to laugh it off. I couldn't. I remembered the year I lived with Grandma Odette when I was 9. 12 months in her big cold house on the hill. No friends, no toys, no phone calls to my parents. Just her and her rules, and the little green notebook she carried everywhere, writing down every mistake I made, what I ate, how I sat, how long I took to answer a question, whether I cried too loud or not loud enough. I came out of that year a different child, quiet, watchful, afraid to want anything. It took me until my 30s to figure out what she'd actually done to me. I stood up from the table. I said, Rennick isn't going anywhere. My grandmother smiled the way she always did when someone tried to say no. Sweet, patient, certain. She said, don't be dramatic. It's already arranged. Your parents agreed months ago. His room is ready. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father wouldn't look at me. My wife's face changed as she finally understood what was happening. I took Rennick's hand and walked out. We drove home that night in silence. My wife kept asking questions. I couldn't answer any of them yet. The calls started the next morning. My mother, crying, saying I was making a scene over nothing. My father, cold, saying I owed the family for everything Grandma Odette had done for us. My uncle, warning me that if I embarrassed her again, I'd be cut out of the will along with my whole branch. Grandma Odette owned the house my parents lived in. She'd paid for my uncle's divorce. She'd bought 2 of my cousins their first cars. That was how she kept everyone in line. That was how she'd kept them quiet about me. I didn't answer any of them. 4 days later, I came home from work, and Rennick's overnight bag was gone from the hook by the door. My wife was in tears. She said my mother had come by with a court document, some kind of temporary guardianship form my father had signed years ago, and she'd taken him, just like that. I called every cousin I could think of, the ones Grandma had raised properly before me. My cousin Merritt, who lived 2 states away, didn't pick up. My cousin Halden, who I hadn't spoken to in a decade, answered, and immediately said, I can't help you, and hung up. I finally got through to my cousin Renly, the one who'd lived with Grandma the year before I did. She was quiet for a long time, then she said, go get him tonight. Don't wait until morning, and whatever you find in that house, take pictures of all of it. I drove 7 hours through a snowstorm. The house sat at the end of a long driveway lined with dead trees. I parked past the tree line and walked up. The mudroom door was unlocked. It always had been. She never thought anyone would come. I found a study I'd never been allowed in as a child. The walls were lined with green notebooks, hundreds of them. Dates going back to 1961, each one labeled with a child's name. I opened the ones with my name and read a full year of my 9-year-old self, broken down into columns. Weight, sleep hours, punishments given, punishments earned, words that displeased her. There was a shelf of family financial records, too, going back decades. Every dollar she'd ever given anyone, and what she'd demanded in return. Under it, a fresh notebook, spine uncracked, with Rennick's name on the cover in her handwriting. I found him in the small blue bedroom at the end of the hall, the same one I'd slept in, awake in his pajamas, sitting on the edge of the bed. Grandma Odette was in the rocking chair across from him, reading aloud from a book of rules I remembered word for word. She looked up when I walked in. She wasn't afraid. She smiled and said, he's already doing so well. You'll thank me. You did. I didn't say anything. I picked up my son. I held up my phone and told her I'd been recording since the mudroom and that I'd photographed every notebook on those shelves. I told her the state police were already on their way. For the first time in 60 years, I watched my grandmother's face go blank. She's under investigation now. 2 of my cousins have come forward. The house on the hill is being emptied by people wearing gloves. My son is 8 now. He doesn't remember that night at all. I remember every second of it. But the thing that swallowed 4 generations of us ended in that blue room.